Mars, so you name it, and think you know it. The red planet, no air, no life. But you do not know Mars, for its true name is Barsoom, and it is not airless, nor is it dead, but it is dying. The city of Zodanga saw to that. Zodanga, the predator city, moving, devouring, draining Barsoom of energy and life.
Okay, Batman.
Only the great or Dread.
We went into
One or the other. I know.
Dread,
Too long
Dread.
to be Dread.
Only the great city of Helium dare resist. Stood strong, matched. This is so
Matched
weird.
on the streets of Gotham.
I'm just gonna zip through this.
You're unprepared
Can you give us the actual...
Okay, no, stop interrupting, please, so I can get to this.
I'm really
Please,
enjoying it.
Please,
Go ahead.
please,
go
for
ahead.
the love of
Go
God.
ahead.
TLDR.
Welcome to Franchise Killer, a podcast where we pick movie franchises or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong.
Or right.
Right. I can't even joke about Willem Dafoe being on this show because none of those impressions came anywhere close to being him. So, let's introduce the podcast. You on my right,
David.
I'm the host, Reese. You on my left,
Irina.
and further left,
Willem. Noah.
I knew you would do something. You just can't resist. And way off in a distant land, we have who?
AJ.
Off in the distance, very far distance this time.
Yeah, Houston. You're a good 2.5 hours away from us, unfortunately. But we are staring at a lovely illustration of your
Caricature.
face. And it's just, it's not quite you, but it's almost there.
I know you didn't intend to, but you made like a space reference with that. Houston, 2 hours away.
Houston, we have a problem.
Exactly.
AJ is gone.
But he's literally in Houston, so...
That is a joke.
You likely have no idea what
hate
movie
you,
we're
Aiden.
talking about unless you are very familiar with Edgar Rice Burroughs. We are talking about John Carter this week, directed by Andrew Stanton, starring Taylor Kitsch, Lynn Collins, Willem Dafoe, Mark Strong, Bryan Cranston, Dominic West, and others. Also written by Andrew Stanton, Mark Andrews, Michael Chabon, and adapted from A Princess of Mars, the first of 11 books in the Barsoom series by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who, if you're familiar with his work, also wrote roughly 26 Tarzan novels.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How can you even have 26 Tarzan novels? What?
By writing them?
So this is probably his second most popular his second most popular work here with John Carter. We're going to talk about the Disney adaptation of this movie, which came out in 2012. First, we will go through our impressions of this film, what if we had seen it before, what we thought at the time, and then we will go into the story, paragraph by paragraph, which I've taken from Wikipedia, shamelessly.
Shameless.
Yeah, so deal with it. And after that, we'll talk about the franchise and whether or not it was successful, which there's only one movie, so take a guess. We'll go into its box office and the reviews, what people thought of it, and so forth. So, what did y'all think of this movie before you watched it again for this episode? David.
I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. Who thinks I was working at the movie theater when this came out?
I'm going to
Nobody?
gander yes.
The answer is yes. I was at the movie theater when this came
Wait,
out.
wait, hold on.
Why?
I asked you guys. Anyway, regardless, yeah, I was working at the movie theater when this came out. So I never saw it, mainly because there were people who would come out of the movie theater and they were not happy.
Yeah.
So
Really? How? Okay, this is what I'm curious about. When you're working at a movie theater, how much of an opportunity are you able to get to see that people were unhappy with a movie?
very easily, actually.
They walk out of there making their comments. They're like,
So enlighten the audience to your position. Like,
Yes.
what was your role at the movie theater?
So I was one of the rare people who actually went back and forth between concession and usher. So shout out to all those ushers out there who don't get enough attention because that job sucks. And everyone wanted, and at least where I was working, they wanted to be in the concession area. But the ushers, they would wait outside the movies right before they got out. They would wait, and then certain people would stick and stay longer afterwards, which made our jobs that much worse. But we did not have to worry about that with John Carter, which is why we liked it, because people would leave immediately, if not early.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me because I know that this movie spoiler, it bombed. But at the beginning of this movie, I found it to be engaging.
Yeah.
So that's strange. I find it funny that people would walk out.
We'll touch on that a little bit. But as far as being at the movie theater, Mike, I never seen it up until we had to watch it for this podcast. And so no experience. Move on.
So you had not seen it?
No, I had not seen it.
Just saw impressions of it. Okay. Irina.
Impressions of it. So
Yeah.
so people
all
came
right,
and
let me put it.
Look, I'm
this is my
John Carter.
impression of John Carter.
No, you know what I mean.
So my actual impression, I guess, would be from others, which I thought it was a very bad movie based on them. So
Okay,
Yeah.
based on the so.
All right, Irina.
My opinion was going into it, I was dreading it because I just another Disney film that was basically all action and too much special effects. I was not expecting it to be good. I walked in pleasantly surprised because I was expecting it to be so horrible.
Did you walk into a theater or walk into your living room and watch it?
A theater. I'm pretty sure we watched this in theaters.
Okay.
I'm
Really?
certain. Yeah, I'm certain we watched it in theaters. I thought it was, yeah, like I said, I thought it was going to be horrible, and I actually enjoyed my experience of it for that reason.
Okay. Noah.
We watched it together, Reese.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Do you recall?
yeah,
We-
I recall.
We went to Westgate.
Yes, I do recall.
Yeah.
I think it was just Irina and
And,
Reese actually, and you weren't actually there. I
Oh
think
yeah,
you're just
like
imagining it.
what was that? Narnia, or was that
Girl with the dragon
Girl-
tattoo.
No, not that. That wasn't it. I didn't watch that at theaters.
Okay, well, go.
Regardless,
Warcraft. That's what it was.
no, not Warcraft either. No, because I definitely saw that with everybody.
You thought you did, and that was the
No,
whole
no, no, no,
argument.
no. It was a different.
How about
one.
John Wick? I mean, John Carter.
How about John Carter? Yeah, the first time we watched it together, it was your idea. I had probably maybe only seen a trailer for it, and came out of it and actually quite enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fun movie. Like,
And you were how old at this point? It was 2012, so...
I don't know, probably like
He was 17.
17, something like that. 16, 17.
I was 18,
I don't
so
know.
he would have been 17, depending
Yeah.
on what part of the year it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't really. I mean, there's a very small gap between our ages, so
Yeah. All right, and finally, AJ.
So I'd never seen this movie until this week, and it didn't really stand out. I don't remember marketing for it, I guess, except some vague scenes. But the title itself, like John Carter, just kind of blended in with every other first to last name movie title, like John Wick. Yeah, it
Should've
kinda
just left
didn't
him.
stand out to me.
Yeah, that is one of the... Honestly, we're going to get into this later, but I think that's one of the main... I won't say main reason this movie failed, but one of the chief reasons, not having a distinctive title. Dropping
Yeah.
Yeah, if you called it A Princess of Mars, I think that would have been so much more interesting than John Carter.
or even John Carter of Mars, which
Right.
they could have easily done, and the fans of Edgar Rice Burroughs would have been clued into the fact that, oh, this is a adaptation of Princess of Mars, or it's, part of the Barsoom series that I'm such a fan of.
well, a little known fact, it wasn't even called John Carter until much later.
Yeah.
It was like 20 or so
Well, I
years
think that's-
later when they
that's why
decided,
they're
like
saying that.
the publishers decided, oh, it's actually going to be John Carter instead.
That's why
Yeah.
they're saying that. They should have changed it to something else so people would have been clued in more easily.
No. What I'm saying is the books originally they were individually called different. It wasn't under a John Carter.
Yeah.
Like it just happened. That was the character, but it wasn't.
They used to come
that's
from
not what it was called.
a magazine series in the what was it 1913 something like that. That's when he started writing these, and there was something called the All Story magazines, and they basically had a bunch of fiction. And I think at the time, what was it called? It was called Under the Seven Moons, or
I
what was
don't
it?
recall.
Was something like that. But that was what he named that series to begin with.
Yeah, it was not what it is today, at
Yeah.
least.
All right, so before we go on into the story, I'm going to drop a few key words and definitions in here so it makes sense when I'm
Are they words or weird
it-
names?
Huh? Okay, so as we've done before, I'm going to go through this story paragraph by paragraph. Here's a couple of words you need to know. Barsoom is Mars. Jasum is Earth. Red men are the dominant race. They're the humans from Zodanga and Helium. The green men are the primitive race. The Tharks are a fictional tribe of fierce green. Yeah, obviously they're fictional. I don't know why I had to specify that, but they're kind of the primitive tribe between the two red races, I guess. Yeah, Helium, as I mentioned before, is one of the major kingdoms in Barsoom, and Zodanga is the opposition to Helium, kind of the bad kingdom. So,
Gotcha.
And I feel like you should, I don't know, at least clear it up almost more so in the way that we would imagine them or the way they portrayed them on the screen, which was like, I think the Tharks were they
Red
more
team
like,
and blue team than
Yeah.
Native Americans.
Okay,
that's
Native,
it.
Tharks were the Native Americans, right? And then you have the Reds, which were the more American-looking ones.
And there's actually been some criticism over Edgar Rice Burroughs and his like depictions of race and all that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of a touchy subject, so we're going to try to,
Tread lightly.
tread lightly. Yeah.
Another
So-
vocab word for you that was thrown around a lot was Jedak, which is like, I guess, the chief or the king or whatever leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a good job explaining that, actually. I remember when they were going through that, the first time I heard it, I was like, whoa, what's that? And then they repeated it a lot. And I think they did a good job of explaining it for the audience.
Yeah. Are y'all ready to get into the story?
I am.
Let's do it.
Okay. In 1881, Edgar Rice Burroughs, yes, the author, attends the funeral of his uncle, John Carter, a former American Civil War Confederate Army captain who died suddenly. Per Carter's instructions, the body is put in a tomb that can be unlocked only from the inside. His attorney gives Carter's personal journal for Burroughs to read, in the hope of finding clues explaining Carter's cause of death. So that's our intro here. What y'all think? The opening scene was more of a narration by Willem Dafoe that I so horribly butchered at the beginning of this episode. And then we got our kind of first confrontation between the Zodanga people and the Helium people.
Yeah. So
Well-
they actually kind of do this in reverse. In the book, it actually starts off with more of a, it's actually from his perspective, the Edgar Rice Burroughs, which is... Anyways, what happens is it's like he's already died
Yeah.
at this, or died, quotation marks.
So it's like the
at
ending
this
of
point.
the movie. In
Yeah, so they switched the ending in the beginning in this, where he's...
Interesting.
It's kind of like a flashback, the whole thing. They didn't quite explain it as well in this. They kind of show it a little, but it's not quite a whole explanation of what happens. But they have the whole explanation at the
Are
beginning.
you saying you've read this book?
Maybe.
Yeah, you read it a little bit?
A little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
I felt like it was... I actually downloaded the book on Audible and was listening to it. I felt like it was reasonably faithful. It took a few liberties. But it was mostly... You get Edgar Rice Burroughs in the beginning, who's played by... Oh, what's his name?
Junie.
Junie, yes, Sabara.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember.
Daryl
Like,
Sabara.
it's Junie.
Yeah, Daryl Sabara.
What a choice.
Although I don't feel like... Maybe he wrote on a paper that was his name, but I did not catch from the movie that was Edgar Rice Burroughs.
They don't show it until like the end.
I honestly didn't
Yeah.
know until we just talked about it, which shows I did not do a good job preparing for this podcast.
The
at all.
only
No,
thing
you're
they
fine.
do is like he signs something, Edgar Rice Burroughs or whatever at the end of it, and that's where it's like, oh, I see what you did.
I think
there.
it's that doesn't bother me, because anyone who has read the book or knows the story will know, oh yeah, that's the author, and anyone that hasn't isn't going to care. They're just seeing this young boy
just a
who's
name.
it's just a name. So I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It's an interesting acting choice, though. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as this goes, before this, what was the last thing Daryl Sabara was
I
in?
honestly think it was Spy Kids.
It might have
like,
been.
I think this is his last like notable role. I did not specifically look up that actor, but
So one of the changes that they made from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
John Carter is actually supposed to be prospector buddies with the guy he finds this cave with, which they kind of happen upon it this time with a guy he was rivaling.
That's kind of that was very different,
who
actually.
catched him. So that's a really different change. He and this other guy were really good buddies. His friend actually has to go back after finding the cave to get the equipment to mine the
Yeah.
gold from this cave that
That
they
is
had
In
very
found.
this
different.
one,
And in this one from the book, one thing happens is his buddy is still killed by Apaches, but it's a little different. As he's on his way from getting the equipment, he gets attacked by
Ambushed
them,
almost.
and they kind of torture and kill him.
Very different than this.
Yeah.
He
But
has
in
no
this
buddies
one,
in this.
Yeah.
he's like, I gotta get back to my gold. And then the Confederate soldiers are like, but
Yeah.
you were so good at killing the Yankees. We
Yeah.
need you. Just you.
We
he's-
heard you were the best.
You're the best in the business.
As probably I guess this could be a racially sensitive topic when you think about it, but in the story, John Carter is a lot more valiant in this moment. It's supposedly about like hundreds of Apache Indians just messing with his friend's body after he's pretty much dead, and he in kind of a will to save his friend charges in all by himself with a gun and goes to retrieve
Yeah,
his
we
friend.
don't get that
and,
with
like,
Carter. Instead,
yeah.
Carter
They took creative liberty.
Yeah.
Carter completely abandons this dude and forgets that he's left dying by the side of a cave.
Yeah.
Well-
To be fair, he gets teleported instantly.
He
He
does,
didn't
but,
mean to, but
by the time
Yeah.
he is teleported, he's like, "Oh, I gotta get back to my goal."
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel
also-
like it's different.
He also kind of pulled like a Dances with Wolves, like, oh, I speak Apache now, and
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Disney wasn't about the Apache torture scene, so
So yeah, the movie takes liberties. So I'm not gonna hold it against that. I feel like Andrew Stanton did a good job of adapting the book, but not following every single
Yeah.
plot point to the exact detail of the
Right.
book. So I'm not gonna hold him accountable for all
Yeah.
the little changes that the movie makes, because that's honestly the point of making a movie your own. You, as a director, you have to make certain changes to adapt it to the screen, because books cannot ever be perfectly adapted in their form to
Yeah.
movies. It's just impossible. So we could go into this movie and literally nitpick every single little thing about it that it does differently from the book, but let's focus on what we're getting in this movie here. So we have an introduction to Thurn, which is Mark Strong's character, along with Taylor Kitsch as John Carter and Bryan Cranston as Colin Powell. So what did y'all think of these initial what were your initial impressions of
David
these characters?
didn't believe me when I said that was Bryan Cranston.
I knew
Yeah.
you were going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say now, I thought this was going to be a very bad movie, and I never watched it up until this point. So Irene and I were watching it together, and
And then you realized you were David and you don't dislike any movie.
shut up. I was realizing the intro did catch me because, one, I never read the books. I didn't know anything about this movie. So when they were doing like a 20-minute intro in like the 1800s Americas, and I was very caught off guard.
Yeah.
So I was like, when are we going to get to Mars? Like, what's happening right now?
When are we
And
Can
gonna
we
then-
just
get to
skip ahead to
Mars?
David's rating where he gives it a 7?
I'm going to kill you.
Honestly, I think it might be a 7.
I hate all of you. I just
That's confirmation.
Look, shut up.
Shut up, man.
So the point is, I was caught off guard with how well this hooked me in the beginning, and we still had Bryan Cranston and a lot of big name actors kind of right off the bat. And
Yeah.
was
The
interesting.
the first one we got was Dominic West and Mark Strong
Yeah.
in
Mark
that
Strong.
ship. Yeah.
Mark Strong I love a lot, and this one was not his, I guess, of my favorite roles. Kind of almost reminded me of like My Favorite Martian or Coneheads or something. Just him
Coneheads.
as a third
He
didn't
did.
really.
Yeah.
My name is Sven. I came from Sweden.
When I saw him, honestly, he's beginning to be typecast in these roles where, I mean, I know this was 2012, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I wonder what kind of villain he's gonna be in this. Where it's like, okay, I guess, or he's the contemplative, pensive villain in this one.
Right. Yeah,
But,
that's why I liked him in Kingsman so much.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, nice to have him in a good
Yeah, that
part
was
for once.
refreshing.
yeah,
Yeah, but Mark Strong, reliable as always. He's kind of one note, but you know
Yeah.
you know what you're getting when you see him, and you know it's never going to be bad, but it might not push the boundaries. So we also get Taylor Kitsch, who's we're in the early or late 19th
Yep.
century.
Before this, the only thing I had remembered him from was actually the Wolverine movie.
Oh yeah, as Gambit. for
Yeah,
like
as that
5
small,
seconds.
tiny
Ew,
role
Gambit.
of Gambit.
Ugh.
And while I feel like he actually could do a good job in that role, that movie was a little bit meh
Yeah, yeah.
So it was kind of a poor
This is
receival.
better.
Yeah.
This is he changed from one vanilla to another.
Yeah, he's a very vanilla actor, but not. I don't want to say bad. That sounds
It's not,
negative.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
bad. It's just not memorable.
It's just like
Yeah.
here, this is the action star of the week.
Yeah.
where
I honestly kind of liked him in this. At least I think it fits his
Yeah, he
character,
pulled
even
off
if
the
it
look
isn't.
well.
Yeah, even if it's a little kind of a stereotypical male protagonist type cast, a little bit. I enjoyed it a little more in
Yeah.
this.
So just to sort of segue us and also show, Noah what I was just being kind of too blatant about on my phone showing Reese, I didn't realize that David Schwimmer and Jon Favreau were in this.
What?
did voice.
Did anyone else
voice
know
parts?
one of the
No,
other
I didn't realize
films?
that.
John Fat,
Jon Favreau and David Schwimmer were in this
So-
movie.
I knew Jon Favreau was.
Ross, and Happy.
Ross and Happy, yeah, if you want to go back to Iron Man and Friends, yeah.
Who was Ross playing? I mean, David Schwimmer.
Ross is more actual rememberable than David Schwimmer. Don't try to
Did you
correct
say
that grammar.
rememberable?
Don't. I just don't
Rememberable.
Question: Who was he?
He was young Thark warrior.
Wow, I can really pick that out.
I don't know who that is, but he's
He was
some
early
sort of
on
young
when
boy.
the
Who is,
eggs were,
John-
I think he was one of the ones that destroyed the eggs that didn't hatch early on.
Okay.
Who is John
okay.
Favreau though?
Jon Favreau was Thark Bookie.
Thark Bookie. Oh yeah, good old Thark Bookie.
All right.
Oh, him. He
I
was
don't know who
great.
that is.
That was a strong character.
He
right
pulled
there.
it off. I
Yes,
think
he
so.
did.
So I will also note that from the intro to this movie, I was like, wow, the cinematography is amazing. Mm-hmm. And the score by Michael Giacchino is very good.
I really liked the score to this
Yeah,
movie.
so
Oh, yeah.
I like the score a lot, and I like the visuals of this movie. I think they look really good, at least off the bat. You can tell all the money of this movie's massive budget was on the screen for all to see. Not a penny was wasted, unless you guys disagree.
No. Yeah, the Tharks looked actually pretty good.
Yeah.
2012?
In fact, it was a
Not-
nickel.
Damn it, no.
Wow.
For 2012, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wire
let's.
work.
Sorry,
The
go
wire
ahead.
work with the low gravity jumping on Mars, that wire work was pretty spotty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting to that.
Yeah, we're almost to Mars now.
Oh, whoop, sorry.
All right.
No, we are on Mars.
No, we're not. Not quite there.
We didn't read
No,
that
we
part
are
yet.
on Mars.
That was
Wow,
a good
the
save, David.
It
Humor
could've been.
is really on point in this episode.
Somebody has to back me up.
We started off strong and we
live
kept
theater, people.
deflating.
I can't follow you down that.
Somebody help me.
You're on your own.
All right, let's continue with the story.
I'm ready.
In a flashback to 1868 in the Arizona Territory, Union Colonel. I hate when I see Colonel. I don't think Colonel. I think
Colonel.
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 Just call him Colin.
Union Colonel Powell arrests Carter. Powell, knowing about Carter's military background, seeks his help in fighting the Apache. Carter escapes his holding cell, but fails to get far with U.S. cavalry soldiers in close pursuit. After a run-in with a band of Apaches, Carter and a wounded Powell are chased until they take to hiding in a cave that turns out to be the object of Carter's earlier searching, the Spider's Cave of Gold. A Thurn appears in the cave at that moment and, surprised by the two men, attacks them with a knife. Carter kills him but accidentally activates the Thurn's power medallion and is unwittingly transported to a ruined and dying planet called Barsoom. Because of his different bone density and the planet's low gravity, Carter is able to jump high and perform feats of incredible strength.
The Superman effect.
He is captured by the green Martian Tharks and their Jeddak, Tarkus. So, what'd y'all think of all this?
We kind of got ahead of ourselves
Willem.
before, so we've
Yeah,
already
so that's my
commented a
apologies.
little on
No,
it.
that's fine.
But
Willem.
I think I found this part to be a little rushed. I liked the intro, but the whole getting to the cave and him just trying to outrun the cavalry, and then oh no, stumbled upon Apaches too. Now they're all chasing me, you know. And
I
I-
thought the whole movie was rushed,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Well, that's because there's a lot that they
It
need
is.
to
Yes,
fit
there
in.
is a lot.
Yeah.
And if we go by Noah's philosophy, we should split this movie into 3 movies.
Yes, in fact,
And
I
then
agree with
a
you.
following
figured you
7.
would.
I'm just
It
gonna
could use
say,
3 movies.
I don't think it was as rushed as you guys are saying. It was a little rushed, but with no background knowledge, I thought it was actually okay.
So no, here's the
Yeah.
thing. It's rushed, but they did a good job fitting a lot into a little.
It didn't feel like DC movies where the characters and the actors and everything is going well, but the pacing in the movie's off. At least it felt well paced.
I think the thing is, I just feel like I didn't really get to know who John Carter was on Earth.
What?
It's just he's just some random scummy guy where they're all like, "We need you back to fight because
you
you're
saw
good."
his background story.
He's a rapscallion and he's looking for some gold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
I think it conveyed his desperate situation and his, I guess, lack of fitting into society still, and then that obviously makes him a good candidate to, hey, I'll fit in on Mars or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's about all it established.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't get much personality.
They showed his backstory though.
Speaking about
Briefly.
one aspect of him that they could have conveyed a little better, I guess they decided to, out of some, it convolute the story a little bit, add a lot of questions, but he actually is said to have been somewhat immortal before going to Mars.
Are you
Really?
kidding me?
So-
As a human?
Yes, before he went to Mars, he was said to have been always about 30 years old. He doesn't remember having a childhood, and he just
Interesting.
remembers being 30 years old for just years and years and years and years. So that's a
That's actually
little
good to
tidbit
know.
about him that
Interesting.
makes it make more sense towards the end of this movie whenever he
Looks the exact same.
Yeah, whenever he looks the exact same, even though it's been like almost a decade or whatever.
Yeah. So what I'll say, I do like how him and the Colonel, Colonel Powell, they have this like relationship that it's only told in a short amount of time, but you get the understanding that they have some history. They've had some
Yeah.
back and forth where the Colonel's probably been in pursuit
Yeah.
of Carter for a number of years or whatsoever. You get that sense that they have this history.
Some sort of rapport.
Yeah, but they also, as much as the Colonel wants to catch him and lock him up, he has a strange respect for John Carter.
Yeah.
And that I kind of like how at the end of the sequence where the Indians are chasing them into the cave, they team up for a moment there, you know? And the Colonel's like, hey, throw me a gun. And
Yeah.
Carter trusts him enough to throw him a gun. And they have that
Yeah.
moment of brief partnership, which makes the
A little bit of
the end
camaraderie.
it makes that end result a little slightly tragic.
Yeah.
And I do like the comedy they did where he kept trying to imprison him and somehow he kept trying to jump out windows and fight
Yeah.
people and they're like, don't do it.
Oh, the transitions in this movie are so good. I love that scene where he jumps out the window and then it's into a jail cell.
Yeah.
You remember
That was
that?
pretty
Yeah.
good.
Like the cinematography is on point.
It
in
was
this movie.
very good.
Well,
And I
the
should mention-
design's really good for a lot of things. I mean, there's certain aspects of the animation that are somewhat iffy at times, but overall, it's really good.
I will say it's substantially better than what I was expecting.
I should also mention that Andrew Stanton is one of the main Pixar directors. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier.
I
but
didn't know that.
Yeah, he directed Finding.
Toy Story. Actually, I think he wrote screenplay for Toy Story.
He's executive producer and probably a writer on a lot of the Pixar movies, but he also directed Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, A Bug's Life, and WALL-E. So
Monsters Inc. I think maybe or no.
no, not Monsters Inc. I think he was involved, but he did not direct it.
Or is that DreamWorks?
No, Monsters Inc. is Pixar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Pixar. So you're right there. But this was his first foray into live action, and one of the other Pixar directors had actually played around with live action. Oh my gosh, his name is slipping my mind, but he did Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. So I think Andrew Stanton, off of that, decided to like, hey, maybe I can do live action, and this was his first attempt at it, and he hasn't tried it again since, unfortunately.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, it is, because there's a lot going on here that I think is successful.
There's
But
actually a lot to like about this movie, despite what people say.
Public criticism.
And how, even if it's somewhat inaccurate to the books.
so we mentioned it slightly earlier, but when John Carter finally makes it to Mars, there's a bit of the anti-gravity sequence that was kind of played for laughs.
Yeah.
AJ, you thought that was kind of, the wire work was kind of unsuccessful, but I sort of kind of liked it because they played.
I just think they dragged it out and a little too long, and so some of them were just like over the top, and some of the cuts were just like, okay, this is enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember watching it and thinking it was funny in the very, very beginning, and then I was like, okay, someone who's intelligent would have figured this out by now. It
Him
doesn't take that
jumping?
long. Yeah. He did it
I
like a
didn't-
billion times. Like, come on.
Okay,
it's a-
so I actually disagree. I think that would take a really long time to get
Yeah,
used to.
I also think it would be hard to master.
I
so
think it's down to a person-to-person basis.
And it goes through that in about 30 seconds. That whole jumping
No,
thing.
they go from that and they jump to another scene and
So-
they do a whole scene and
so-
they go back to it and then they do
Yeah,
that a
but
few
it's-
times.
So, David,
But
you feel like you'd be able to master this pretty quickly?
him
At
jumping.
least more quickly than the way they portrayed it in this,
don't-
which made it seem
this
like a
w-
very
I don't
long
know.
time.
I wish I
I
could
don't
put
know.
you. I wish I could. Put you through
I
around it.
really think this would be
I-
extremely hard.
Yeah, in the very beginning, it's
dude,
gravity. You
Dude,
would
think
have
about
figured it out.
this. Think about the astronauts that train their entire lives to be able to walk on the moon. Like,
Yeah, you think they spend their whole lives literally just in a gravitational area trying to figure out how this works?
Do you know what's funny about this? A lot of people more intelligent than us are going to be listening to this and probably ridiculing both of you.
did gravity. How did you
maybe, but
I'm just kidding.
but
By the end of this movie, John Carter has osteoporosis.
Yeah.
man.
All right. This is also our first introduction to the Tharks. How do you guys think the CGI held up? I guess.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, there's some iffy moments, but overall, that's an alien. It looks the emotions are well conveyed on their faces.
Actually,
You know?
better than I expected.
Yeah.
Um,
Except for their hatchling grub.
Yeah,
babies.
those are a little iffy. But
So, and then we get our first. What are they called? The Tharks. Tars Tarkus. What do you think?
I like him.
You
He's
like
a
him?
likable character.
Yeah.
I like their first interaction a lot too.
He's very immediately hopeful of John Carter. He's like he's the optimist of their group. Who's he believes in something, whereas the others have kind of. It seems like they've moved on.
He's that
Stuck
last
in their
connection to
tribal ways.
to aim for somewhat of a peace with humans or the Reds, I guess.
Well, I don't think that was the whole reasoning behind it. I think
well,
he
his
saw
daughter was a
it was the jumping
component.
sequence that kind of inspired him. Like, okay, this guy has some talent. He's not what we normally know red people to be. He's got something else going on. I want to learn more about this, and he's kind of got that optimistic side to him.
Yeah.
So
The rest of the tribe is in that survival mindset. It's different, it's foreign, therefore dangerous, kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna continue on with the story.
Yeah.
Are y'all ready? Do you have?
Yeah.
enough-
ready.
You've said everything.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a long paragraph, guys. So get ready for a number of issues.
Yay! Can you speak as Willem Dafoe again?
No, I will not be attempting. I will not be doing
holy
that.
crap, this is a very long paragraph.
Yeah. This gets through a lot of the story. So pay attention, I guess I should say.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Elsewhere on Barsoom, the red Martian cities of Helium and Zodanga have been at war for 1,000 years. Sab Than, Jeddak of Zodanga, armed with a special weapon obtained from the Thurn leader Matai Sheng, proposes a ceasefire and an end to the war by marrying the Princess of Helium, Deja Thoris. The princess escapes and is rescued by Carter. Carter, Deja, and Tarkus, daughter of Sola, embark on a quest to get to the end of a sacred river to find a way for Carter to get back home. They obtain information about the Ninth Ray, a means of using infinite energy, and also the key to understanding how the medallion works, but they are later attacked by Sheng's minions. After the attack, Carter is captured and taken back with Deja, while Sola is able to escape. The demoralized Deja grudgingly agrees to marry Sab Than, then gives Carter his medallion and tells him to go back to Earth. Carter decides to stay and is captured by Sheng, who explains to him the purpose of Therns, and how they manipulate the civilizations of different worlds to their doom, feeding off the planet's resources in the process. Carter is able to make an escape as he and Sola go back to the Tharks requesting their help. There they discover Tarkus has been overthrown by a ruthless brute, Tal Hajus. Tarkus, Carter, and Sola are put on trial in a Colosseum battle with two enormous vicious creatures, the four-armed great white apes. After defeating them and killing Hajus, Carter becomes the leader of the Tharks. Okay, can freaking authors stop making up names? Like, cause
Yeah, forget about Elrond or Theoden.
no, yeah,
or,
no. It is every time I read these things, it is a minefield of words that are hard to pronounce. That
I'm just gonna
slip me up.
I'm just gonna say Noah has a very good point. as far as Lord of the Rings goes,
It's all
there's-
immersion.
Exactly. You just have to immerse yourself in it. If the content's good enough, you will remember it.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. This is just a petty complaint. So
I get
a lot happened there. Obviously, what'd y'all think? Did y'all listen to me fumble through that?
I honestly didn't at all.
I zoned out.
Really? Really?
No, not one bit.
Pretty sure I zoned out just as much as when it actually happened in the movie.
Oh,
Something. John Carter
burn.
becomes the leader of the Tharks.
So
I don't know.
yeah, things get a little. I will say the movie does lose me a little bit at this
So-
point.
Explain the purpose of the Tharks.
The Tharks, they're kind of they're the primitive race that just watches the two red races, I guess, fight it
Right.
out, and they're hoping that the two just defeat themselves and
Yeah.
they can, salvage all the scraps
They
left
are
over.
definitely portraying them as the Native Americans of the Mars.
Oh, they definitely are. You mind if I point out a thing from the book?
Sure,
Yet again.
go for it.
This is another semi-difference. What happens is, in this interpretation of it in the movie, all the Reds actually kind of attack the tribe, but it's honestly the opposite way around. The tribe actually attacks the people of Helium. So
Really?
the princess...
Wait, Tharks are attacking Helium.
Yeah, so they attack the princess and all of them, and John Carter's on their side attacking them, and they capture the princess. Then the princess delivers some sort of like speech, and then he falls in love with her.
So
and-
you're telling me the plot point is extremely different than this?
yes, it is quite different because
I completely
if
misspoke.
Disney,
I meant to say Thurn, not Thark.
Yeah,
Oh,
Thurn.
the Thurn. The Thurn are kind of like a godlike
They're like
being that they live thousands of years, and they have been manipulating history throughout
Yeah.
time. Like they've
Yeah.
been
I got
destroying worlds,
that.
and they've been electing dumb leaders that they can manipulate to, basically ensure that things go their way.
yeah. So they're
right.
they're pretty much in the Marvel universe.
Watchers.
Yeah, the Observers.
Was it the Observers?
It's the Observers,
I thought it was the Watchers.
except they're like the Observers, and they have all this knowledge database, but they're kind of an evil version. Actually, definitely an evil version.
My main point was last little blurb on Wikipedia kind of implied that they explained some of that, and like the ninth ray or whatever that blue laser technology was or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got the impression that no one really knew about it, and that's how it was.
Yeah. I don't think they're explained too well in this movie either, honestly. Like, I could have used a little more context for a lot of the stuff in this film.
I was just making sure I was on the same page as everybody else, because otherwise I missed a lot of stuff.
I think we're all on different pages.
My apologies. I had an error. The Observers are from a show called Fringe, where they're almost the exact same. They're this future bald people, pretty much,
Future ball
Just for
people.
those
All people
out
in the
there.
future are
with
bald.
super intelligence, and they have weird powers you don't understand.
They have to make room for their brains.
So they're
they
they're
shave it
very
all off.
similar, but
Yeah.
the Watchers. Yeah.
So this is our introduction to Deja Thoris, played by Lynn Collins.
Hot.
Yeah.
Oh, David knows it.
I thought she was fine.
She was. I think she's.
Attractiveness wise, yeah, she was fine.
No, not
She's
just attractive. I think she has.
Acting wise, yeah, she was good. I mean, I think everybody in this movie was about the same level. I think it actually
I was pretty
Which
good
is
in this
subpar.
movie.
not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was good. At first, the very first impression, I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. But when she finally opened her mouth, it was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
actually okay.
A lot. Speaking of characters like her in general, they're normally just. Oh no, we got the Mary Sue. You've got the kind of annoying, uppity, female of the
I'm
show.
smart
That's
and I'm beautiful and
Yeah.
I'm a princess.
exactly, but she carries it a lot better than most do.
This is after the point when John Carter's finally starting to master the jumping ability.
So I'm gonna say this is the problem I have with the John Carter character, and I think it's just circumstantial. But throughout this entire thing, he has pretty much no motivation to help anyone for the longest period of time until he sees a hot girl dangling from a building.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm gonna go save her.
I actually didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Okay. To be fair, he honestly saw her as a human and didn't even know humans exist on this world, so he's probably thinking, that's a human.
I honestly
oh my
would
gosh.
think that too.
He
I
did
need to
s-
save that. That's a human.
He did say a human.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So,
hot
but it is
human.
funny. He's probably like,
yeah, if it's like Danny DeVito hanging from the ship, he's like,
It's like, that's fine.
You got this, Danny. Come on, help me out, man.
oh gosh, I can't think of a better person for that to be.
That was such a great.
Oh no.
Why was Danny DeVito the first thing you thought of?
I'm sorry, Danny DeVito.
You're awesome.
You're a national
I would
treasure.
save you.
and you're
Oh
very,
my, thanks, man.
you're very handsome.
You saved me.
Okay, so we also have that sequence where they travel down the sacred river and discover the ninth ray.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I'm sorry. Before we get there, there was another comment. Another thing that at a certain point in this film, I started disliking the two main characters just
really?
because of their blatant disregard for other people.
Yeah.
And John Carter does that. Abandons his friend. Never even thinks about.
Hey, they
Powell.
just want a bone.
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, well, that's true. And then she says, F saving our race and me marrying someone that I think is fugly. I'm just gonna run off and figure out this whole blue race stuff. But
Well, she
then
was
once
trying to find
okay, so like
something
this. This isn't as bad, but what I'm getting to is the way they treat Sola, which is the daughter of the Jedak, is just deplorable. Like they're constantly doing things that obviously they know are going to break the rules. She's basically on her last leg and they don't listen to her at all.
Yeah.
So like they traipse around in that sacred place, that
Temple
temple.
of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, I'm going to put my stubby little hands all over everything, even though this lady is saying this is forbidden.
Everyone, please get out. Please
Please,
get out.
please
This
get
is
out.
Forbidden.
God, I feel
Yeah,
so
that-
bad
I felt.
for that
Yeah, I
lady.
kind of felt bad for her too.
Which means they did a good job
Yeah.
of making you like her.
How do y'all feel about their chemistry? Do you think they have chemistry at all?
better
I-
than some movies, but
I think they come across as lustful. I don't
yeah,
think they have.
I kind of agree.
I don't really
Yeah, 'cause
see
it-
a deep connection there.
There's that kind of really cheesy scene where she's like cleaning her sword or whatever, and she's looking at the reflection through the sword back at John Carter.
Yeah.
And John Carter looks back at her, and they're like, "Oh, we looked at each other. Turn away real quick."
No.
And then they both like smile, and it's
Guys, they have this like universal connection. Okay, they're
That-
spiritually connected.
That is a scene. Sorry, that is one of those scenes that directors put in there to try and force chemistry when there
Yeah.
is none. It's like this. You should just have
It's a
chemistry.
cliche.
You don't need a
Yeah.
scene that just spells out chemistry to the audience.
Yeah.
It's like we should be able to tell that there's an attraction between the two. You don't need a scene where someone is looking at the reflection and the other one
Yeah.
is looking back, and it's like, "Oh, you caught me."
They're no
Yeah.
Jim and Pam. Let's put it that way. Okay.
It's true.
I think
Yeah,
it's.
they could have done better, but at the same time, they pressed for a lot of time.
I believe that they would be attracted to each other, obviously physically, and probably because of their prowess in battle. But there is never a moment for them to actually really bond over anything deeper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I like her
It's the
stomach
fun part
tattoos.
for like Disney princess kind of chemistry.
Right.
So yeah, we get as I mentioned before, we get the Sacred River trek to the area, that cave where they find the ninth ray. It's like kind of that scene where they're looking at the solar system and the planets and whatever, and they kiss or something. So, okay, I watched this movie twice. I think they were trying to figure out how the medallion works, but I didn't understand. Like, this movie is good at a lot of things, but it's not good at defining what
The ninth ray was.
Yeah, or what the mission is.
Main objective.
Like,
Are
they're
we
doing
saving
this.
her people, or are we going back to Earth? What are we doing here?
Yeah, like when I read it on paper, I was like, okay, I get it. But the movie, I was. They might have dropped like why they were doing this.
I think
Which part are you referring to? Just
Just
try
why
to
they
put
went-
yourself in John Carter's shoes. So like, if I were him and I had that bum luck on Earth, I would be doing everything I can to stay on Mars. But he seems like, yeah, after all this, I still want to go back to Earth, and it doesn't make any sense.
I want my gold, man.
well,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of at first he's thinking, okay, I just want to go back to Earth. But then he kind of has a change of heart throughout the story where he's like, he finds love, he finds people that admire him and that he's okay fighting for.
The arc of his character is that he lost his family in a fire. They don't really say why. But he is able to see a new life that he can protect and save in Deja Thoris. And he's able to transfer that trauma into Mars and find some sort of solace in the fact that he can save a different life, someone else that he loves.
They definitely could have done a lot more with the character arcs in this, and I think yet again it has to do with the fact that it's only one movie.
Yeah,
and it would benefit from being 3.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't say 3.
No, it's just it's so squished into one movie that's not even terribly long. I guess it's 2 hours or almost 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes.
2 hours 10 minutes. It should definitely be at least 2 movies.
I don't know about that. No, there's like 11 of these books.
3 movies.
Well, it's like
you're right.
Master and Commander.
No. Okay, so there are 11 of these books, but this story is one book. Yeah. So it's hard to explain, but this is kind of focusing on the princess arc a little bit, which is the first book. And I think they kind of mixed together a couple of movies or a couple of the books into one movie. Yeah. But different ideas of each one. And it's a lot more involved with each one, though. So they could definitely probably make 11 movies total for like all the books and all the information. But for the sake of the movie, it's easier to translate. It would have probably benefited from 3.
Disney is so stupid spending the amount of money they did on this first movie to start a franchise. Like, I can't even get into it because movies get more expensive as they go along in franchises because like actors' salaries go up and directors' salaries go up. This movie started off so insanely expensive. We'll go into that later.
I really want to know.
We'll go into that later, but like it's just you started off in the worst possible area. You're supposed to be very conservative and very economical with the price of your film and how you delegate your funds.
Yeah.
They did not do that with this.
Unless they can make all the CG really cheap.
No, I feel like we're about to find out why this movie failed.
It was hopeless. It was hopeless from the start with John Carter. I will go out there and say it.
I think a lot of it is just nobody knew what it was. I mean, even though they had a lot of marketing for it, nobody actually knew what it was. And when they found out through the trailers, they didn't really care that much.
It had to do with money, Noah. They spent way too much money.
Oh no, that's okay. That's a different story though. I'm just talking about
the plot here.
Yeah, we should move on. So closing out this before we go into the next portion of the plot, we get that white ape battle. Okay. Did y'all enjoy that? For me, I thought it was fine. I thought it was like a slightly better version of the fight in Attack of the Clones. It just felt like that. It's like a Colosseum battle where it's like
Roman times.
So I'm just gonna say that whole sequence, the white ape battle is like I'm fine with it. Maybe cut it a little shorter. I thought that the whole way that scenario was shot, like he gets to that part where he challenges the leader at the time to a battle or a duel, but then that happens in like 2 seconds, and he just chops the guy's head off. Meanwhile, I was zoning out watching this white ape just kind of blunder around a Colosseum.
You may have been asleep at this time.
Even in the Attack of the Clones, that's when Jango Fett gets his head cut off.
Yeah,
like in such a unceremonious way where it's just so quick. It just seemed like I know the outcome of this fight. Yeah. Why am I watching this?
Yeah. Well, this bad guy has been, or this really annoying Jedak guy. It's finally that point where you get retribution. You figure, oh yeah, he's gonna kill this guy, and he just swipes and cuts his head off in a second, and I don't get no fisticuffs. Okay.
Yeah, and the entire tribe population just turns on him like on a whim, basically.
Yeah. One thing I learned about Tharks is they will chant to anything.
Yeah. You just say a word and they're like, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
chant
I
that.
like that.
I don't know. I think it has to do more with since they're a little more primitive, I think it has to do more with power. They really like power.
Very Warcraft-esque.
That's racist.
Hey,
All right, y'all ready to move on with the story?
Oh yeah.
The Thark army charges on Helium and defeats the Zedangan army by killing Sabthan, while Shang is forced to escape and leave Mars for good. Carter becomes Prince of Helium by marrying Deja. On their first night, Carter decides to stay forever on Mars and throws away his medallion. Seizing this opportunity, Shang briefly reappears and sends him back to Earth. After several years, he appears to die suddenly and asks for unusual funeral arrangements. Burroughs runs back to Carter's tomb and opens it, finding it empty. Shang, disguised as a man with a bowler hat who has been observing Carter, suddenly appears, having followed Burroughs. As Shang prepares to attack, Carter appears and kills Shang. Carter then tells Burroughs that he never found a medallion. Instead, he devised a scheme to lure Athern into revealing himself. Carter takes Shang's medallion, whispers the code, and is then transported back to Barsoom. So, let's talk about the ending of this movie real quick.
Is John Carter someone you follow into battle and throw away your entire cultural's aversion to flying,
See,
and then suddenly flying on everything
that's the
that
thing
can fly?
that bothered me too, was how quickly he was able to rally them.
Yeah, okay, this is another problem I have with this movie. It moves seriously quickly, and it does it at the beginning. It doesn't quite. It kind of slows down in the middle, but at the end, it really just speeds through the plot, and I couldn't follow how quickly it was happening. And
Yeah.
No, I agree completely. That's my main complaint with the movie too. Is hey, culmination to this giant battle, and then at the crest of victory or whatever. Oh, hey, will you marry me? Let's get married right now. And then, we're happily ever after. Oh wait, this all stuff is unresolved. So.
hey, this was probably written at a time when Christianity was in full swing and immoral relations were not acceptable without marriage. So,
But they wanted it to get on.
yeah, exactly.
Get on, getting
Exactly.
Oh,
on.
everybody knew.
So they had to okay, let's make them married.
Bom,
Perfect.
bom, bom,
Let's
bom,
do it.
Bom, bom.
There we go. I don't know. The whole final sequence where they finally kill off this dude. What's this guy trying to marry her?
I forget his name because I don't care.
I don't.
Sorry.
He's
What?
just generic dumb face. I don't know.
Generic dumb face
Bradley
bad guy
Cooper
likes
dad,
power.
too.
Played by
He also
Dominic
sucked
West.
as a ruler.
Yeah. Just the
Stop
idea
on.
that this one guy, John Carter, can go in and completely sabotage everything so easily.
Especially when it was masterfully created by
Yeah,
these
I think
visionary people with
this movie just
minds.
kind of
Thark.
doesn't
Thark.
feel like it is actually in a different world. It's kind of like play acting a different
Hey,
world.
it's Second Earth.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
does
basically
feel
Second
like
Earth.
honestly.
But-
And
More
that could
primitive.
be that could be different in written form, but in this it's just kind of they're relying on the fact that a lot of these people use the same moral grounding that people on Earth would, with
Yeah.
maybe minor differences, like they don't know what handshakes are. That I don't know. It's just it doesn't come across as very believable or faithful to me. And too fast.
And this final battle is resolved so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even kind of understand what I was watching. I knew that he was trying to stop this wedding, and what are they called? The Mark Strong characters? The Heathrons?
Thurn.
The
Therns.
Thurns.
The Therns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did I say Heathrons?
The heathens.
The heathens.
The heathens.
Yeah, that they get away with a medallion or something happens and they zap out of there. But other than that, like it seemed for that instance, it seemed like they failed when Mark Strong's character zips away from the location.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
they celebrate their victory right after. I'm like, okay, I
Well, it's
guess
like-
that's
He
Yeah, I
almost
thought
he
he got
almost
away with the medallion.
yeah. It's almost like he completely forgot that happened, because John is like,
Yeah.
oh, I couldn't sleep. I had that weird feeling you get like when you leave a door open or you think you
Yeah.
left a candle burning, like the way my family died. And it's
Is
just
that's how they died.
I
You
know.
left a candle burning at the home,
My bad.
caught on fire.
Yeah.
He left the
They
door
all
open,
died.
so the wind blew the flame into the curtains.
Wouldn't that be terrible? Meanwhile, John Carter set up like, I really like
but
these scented candles.
Yeah, it's like he forgot that Thurn was
love
still out
lavender.
there, and you don't think he's gonna come back and just ruin your happy ending.
It also seems like he's the only Thurn doing anything.
Yeah.
Mark Strong's character, that is. Like, the other guys just show up in his entourage and look and
Really?
Yeah, they
stare,
just kind of
and
like they're on either side of him and they just like chill.
You know, they remind me of just a bald version of the Thermians from Galaxy Quest. You know, they're just kind
that's
of
what I was,
dumbfoundedly standing around, going like, "Oh."
Yeah, that's exactly what I was think of earlier.
Oh, there's another movie that has this exact same kind of. Oh yeah, never mind. We already referenced it.
Well-
Star Wars. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of a big motif of this movie is it seems like clear to me, even though I've never seen this movie before, because a lot of these things pulled from essays from so many other sources. And that's
Yeah.
not necessarily a bad thing. And actually, I think that lends more to its credit in me accepting it more quickly and overlooking some flaws. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about the actual end of this movie where John Carter is brought back into Earth?
You know, half of me likes it. The other half is thinking, dude, John Carter, you weren't this smart.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire movie, you were
So-
kind of an idiot.
It's like
and
Yeah.
then suddenly
You're
you're thinking of
genius.
these Machiavellian
Yeah.
ideas, plans to
It's like you
get
could-
these people that can see everything to fall into your trap.
You could argue that he got smart, basically, and but you kind of wish you had more time to see that transition.
develop- Yeah. He could have Monte Cristo'd,
So,
but he didn't.
that's what
they
I was
didn't
going to
show
say.
it.
It was
Yeah.
like they were trying to replicate some sort of Monte Cristo long drawn out plan that he's been working on for
Oh, yeah.
years.
Yeah, but he's never seemed. Yeah, you're right. He's never seemed that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They just skipped to right when. Okay, I'm formulating plans. You know,
Yeah, you see,
Also the
Ned,
little-
my true genius.
he's the original get rich quick on gold, convert everything.
On- I like in this. This podcast is interesting because it makes you look at movies that wanted sequels, and like where I would cut this movie to where it would be a decent standalone. Mm-hmm. I would cut out Mark Strong's character zipping off to some location,
Yeah.
and I would cut out this whole back to Earth sequence.
Yeah.
You would end it on him happy with Deja Thoris in that place after they got
Yeah.
married,
The
and he'd look
palace.
out to the stars, and that would be the end.
Yeah.
like
What's
it
the
would
point
leave
of
it.
the ninth ray or whatever? Like that just shows there's no
It's
point.
just a certain kind
and
of
also the fact
technology.
that the medallion actually makes a clone of your body and transport like your life force or something. And
Yeah.
so now there's like multiple bodies that you have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. I actually kind of like that, and I would like to see it explored more. But since this movie does not have a sequel, I'm kind of okay with them, leaving it. Just
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But
It just felt like, oh, hey, by the way, this is how it works.
I feel like something that would have made, if that were an ending, I actually do agree. I think it would be more interesting to start a second film, if there was going to be a second film, with after the marital bliss where, he's taken back to Earth and then figuring out that whole plan that he has. But this would have been a little more significant to me if in the beginning they spent more time maybe focusing on the Burroughs character, like observing John Carter the way he was or came across to people, where he's a little more reclusive, doesn't trust anyone, but kind of seems like a pretty intelligent guy.
But he's
and
also supposed to be
mysterious.
really amiable, though.
Yeah, really amiable,
Yeah.
but kind of a mysterious guy, almost like a Bilbo character, where
Or-
you have this sense about him that he's done things. He's a little
Yeah.
odd, and he doesn't really interact with people. But
Uncle Jack, as he's known in the books.
and then I would be more interested in figuring out what his story is, and then it would make a little more sense why he's so intelligent later. And I just think there was a lot missed in developing his character.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Like Noah just said, Uncle Jack's character, like if you develop him as an avuncular like character, then that would add depth to his character for sure.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so that closes out our story. We're going to take a very brief break and see you guys on the other side, where we talk about this franchise as a whole and why it failed. All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's talk about John Carter.
Some more.
Let's do our brief reviews first.
Okay.
So, revisiting this movie, I actually don't think I went into my first impressions of it when I saw it in the past. I thought John Carter was fine. I did not think it was as bad as the reviews were saying. The reviews, which we'll go into later, were decidedly mixed. I think it's an ambitious movie. I think it has a lot going for it. The budget is all on the screen. It's a very pretty movie to look at. The plot, though, it's just a lot to convey in one movie. And I feel like it's rushed at times. And a lot of the narrative is kind of clunky. The love interest is also questionable. But there's a lot on the screen at all times that kept me engaged, and I was never bored by this film. It's just a lot to take in at times, and I was lost in the politics of it.
They want you more than can chew.
Yeah, they want you to understand that there's this quarrel between these the two, the red armies, or the red men, I guess.
Whatever.
They are from Mars.
Yeah,
They're Martians.
so I got that, and I got that the Tharks are kind of on the wayside, just watching them fight. But I never quite understood what the fight was about. Why were they fighting? Was it just for dominance and to take over? So
I kind of viewed it more as almost a liberation type thing.
Yeah, I just didn't quite understand. There wasn't it didn't convince me to root for one side or the other than one's bad and one's good. I didn't know why one was bad and the other was good. But hey, root for, Deja Thoris and the Helium planet because, hey, they're
Barsoom.
good.
You don't want that princess marrying the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
He just wants power.
Basically, John Carter did all of this because he felt a tingle in his loins again.
Yes,
I haven't felt this in years.
that was the motivation for his heroism.
Out of all my 30 years that I've always been, I have never once tingled like now.
Isn't that what all Disney movies boil down to?
Pretty much.
Toy Story in a nutshell.
Definitely.
Pirates of the Caribbean, she tingles a couple people's loins.
Finding Dory.
Fancies.
Whoa there. That's
Wow.
that's a line.
There's a lot of stuff I liked about this movie. I think it's colorful, it's exciting, there's a lot of ambition on display. It's probably the best you could do with the John Carter property. It's just such a hard book to adapt.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew Stanton really put his heart into it, you can tell. And overall, I come out on the positive end of it. I actually think it's kind of underrated when you look at the actual critic score and how much it made. So overall, I'd probably give it a... You want to look up that slip, David?
Wait, I don't know which one's yours, but I can...
No, I know what it is. I gave it a 7.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
I liked it. I did. I do
Cool.
not...
I honestly thought you would have given it a 5 based on your
Boom,
comments.
Reese. A 7. We're doing this a new way, so now that we have yours, I need to draw a random one, right?
Wait,
Yep.
let me draw for
For
funsies.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Go ahead, Noah. Tell us who it is.
Don't say the score, though.
I won't say. It's AJ. I haven't looked at the
All right,
score yet.
all right.
All right,
Okay.
AJ, what'd you think?
I gave it a 5.5. There's a lot of positive in this movie, and it definitely is a net positive. The familiarity of this movie allows you to relate to it, I guess, on the surface on an emotional level. And that allows me to overlook the lack of depth of character. Probably the biggest criticism I have this is the whiplash I get from the plot just coming all crashing together at the very end. at
Yeah.
the culmination of the battle, and then marriage, happy life, and then going back to Earth. It's like, wow, that was just like, hey, we have this plot here, and we've already used 3/4 of our film time, so let's just snap this out and say we did it. Kind of what it felt to me. And 5.5 is like reset at this criticism. I got an unfair rap. I feel like I saw what Stanton's vision was, and I really appreciate what he did well.
Yeah.
So I actually might bump this guy up to a 6.
Okay. So 5.5 originally, up to a 6 after the episode.
Just because a lot of this kind of feels almost like I get a Prince of Persia vibe,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
in
yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Prince of Persia is a guilty pleasure line. You know, you don't have amazing plot, amazing character development, but it's still fun.
You know, it is kind of like a combo between Prince of Persia and Dune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
When
can
you
see
think
that.
about
I
it,
got-
it's
I got
like
both
a
of those aspects.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
So
a love child of the two of
there
them.
is definitely potential here, and especially with the budget, they could have done better. I don't know what happened with the plot. That was definitely its fatal flaw for me.
Yeah. All right, so 6 out of 10 from AJ. Let's draw the next score.
Next score is me, David.
What'd you give it, David?
Look at that face.
Long,
Is it an
dramatic
8?
pause?
I gave it a 7.
Okay.
Did
so
you
did I.
actually, or can I
You
can I
maybe-
can I see what you put? Hey, exactly what I thought.
I'm really glad you went first.
David was so nervous.
The fact that you gave it a 7 made it so much better for me.
you have nothing to really worry about.
I know. So the point is, I actually like this movie.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was watching it with Irina the other day, and she fell asleep. I don't know how that'll factor into her score, but I was actually captivated. I watched all of it all the way through, and then I stayed up for another 4 hours watching The Office. Completely unrelated, but just so you know.
I didn't know you liked The Office because of the awkward comedy.
It's mostly he's holding out for Jim and
Shut
Pam.
up.
That's
I don't like romantic stuff like that. Shut up. Anyway, I definitely enjoyed the movie. I thought it was going to be really bad, and it wasn't really bad. It was actually pretty good. So
What a great review.
I can't tell. I can't tell if it was.
How many times are you gonna say?
I can't tell-
I thought it was really bad.
I'm
it was
sorry.
gonna be really
I'm a
bad, but
little
it was really
tipsy
good.
right now. Okay. I couldn't tell if it was actually because of the fact that it was a good movie, or if I was just caught off guard with how well it was done compared to what I was expecting. You know what I mean?
It was done.
That's another way of saying exactly what you've been repeating about 5 or 6 times.
I'm staring at the ceiling right now. I don't even know what to say anymore.
What'd you like about it, David?
Wait. Let me do it for him. You know, he likes the fact that he thought it was going to be bad, but it turned out a lot better.
Pretty scenery.
7.
Pretty good. 7. David.
David. All right, next.
Put that on a tombstone. It's pretty good.
All right.
Life.
Irina, you're next.
All right. What did I give it? 7?
Put a 6.5.
Oh, okay. That's
Oh,
right.
wow.
Well, I remember writing something down and then erasing it and putting something else down. So I couldn't remember if I started with 6.5 and moved it to 7 or started with 7 and moved it to 6.5. But it turns out to be the latter.
Yep.
So this movie was good.
Good. You don't sound like you
such a
like it
long
as much as a 6.5.
It's so hard to rate because you can see so much time and effort put into it. And there are things that are redeeming qualities. I think my biggest problem is how much stuff they tried to shove into it and the lack of me really caring about either two of these people in this romantic space quest. So, and that's supposed to be the focus of this movie. Is it was kind of portrayed as a intergalactic romance, basically. Yeah. And I don't really believe either of them much. I wanted to actually learn more about the Tharks because I thought that was a more interesting race, and they were basically used as a means to an end throughout this whole film.
Very
so
true.
they were just kind of blown off, which kind of lowered my interest in this film.
Yeah, and they're so easily changed and
Yeah.
recruited to fight for this cause.
So, but
Well,
other
they did patch together kind of 3 different stories and
Yeah,
then shortened them
yeah.
and kind of made them a little more shallow than
Right.
they should have been.
So that's basically what I'm coming down to. There's an aspect of this that is shallow, and I was trying to compare it to our previously rated films, and the closest would be the Narnia trilogy that we covered. And I think Narnia in general at least had more heart to it. And that's what is putting it at a 7 above this 6.5.
Yeah, there is a low level of heart in
Yeah.
this movie, I will say.
Like I can see there's passion in certain areas of it, but it's just lacking something for me to want to push it over.
Yeah. I think this movie, I liked it for its ideas.
Yeah.
And I know those are primarily from Edgar Rice Burroughs'
Right.
novel, but it was just constantly throwing something new at me to look at.
This has usually been the problem I've had with live action Disney films, is that it's all looks and atmosphere, which can be good, but they just seem very empty to me.
That said, I prefer this to most all of Disney's live action remakes of their original cartoons.
I do
Yeah, I
agree with
agree.
that.
I much prefer an original
Yeah.
IP.
Yep. Which one makes more money?
Yeah.
See, the unfortunate thing was when I was looking up information about this, there was a time where they were trying to turn this into an animated series, and which was a really cool concept, but it just didn't get a lot of backing. That was way back. I think that was in the beginning stages of animation, actually.
wow. Yeah.
So that caused me to think, whoa, what if John Carter was approached from an animated perspective?
That would be really cool.
Yeah, and trying to do the artist St. John, the guy who did a lot of the artwork for John Carter and
Yeah.
Tarzan. If you tried to kind of
yeah.
replicate that style.
They actually intentionally didn't do that because they thought it was outdated.
Yeah.
know-
But it's so cool.
I know.
Man.
Our
6.5.
final. So you stick with 6.5 and not 7?
Sticking with it.
Our final review, Noah, 7.5.
That's me.
Do you stick with that?
Yeah, I actually do. This is one of those movies where I'll admit there are many flaws, there are many things I can criticize, many things that can be shallow, but there's just I really like that it's different from what has been done before, and I'm also in general a big fan of the just books made into movies, classic books made into movies, and those are always really entertaining to me. Just being in another world with, different situations is fun. I really enjoyed all of the atmospheres. The shots are good, but one of the my favorite things is the score. If you have a good score, you've got me. And
Michael
I
Giacchino.
really like the score for this movie.
It's Michael Giacchino.
Oh yeah, he does a great job.
One of the big composers today now.
So you're
I
saying
know.
you'll watch a movie about butts as long as it has a good film score?
I'm not saying I watch purely for the score.
Oh, come on. If a movie called Butts comes out and it's scored by Michael Giacchino, you're not going to watch it?
He would watch it anyway.
I might watch it, but I'd be thinking a different thing. Yeah, but ultimately, I really enjoy the movie. I think it gets a lot of hate that it doesn't deserve. I think they did blow too much on the budget, perhaps.
Maybe a smidge.
Maybe just a smidge. They would have probably benefited from doing a lot more practical effects and using their CG sparingly, but although I guess it would be really hard for them to do that with another world type movie.
Weirdly, there
But,
actually are a good amount of practical effects in this. I mean, it is
but,
a lot of CGI.
But there's a huge amount of
yeah.
CG. I guess that's kind of hard to avoid. I just wish that Disney cared a little more about pride projects and a little less about dollar signs.
Yeah.
That way they could have maybe done this with more movies. And I do agree that the plot is somewhat lacking simply because there's kind of too much of it. And they're trying to fit in 3, 4, 5 different plots into one movie. And it's just it just doesn't blend as well as it should. Like
Yeah.
a lot of moments lose their impact simply because it happens so quickly.
Yeah.
And they don't really build up to it well enough.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I really enjoyed it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure to me, so I'll keep with my 7.5.
All right. So overall, with John Carter, we were mixed to positive, which is decent considering this movie had decidedly mixed reviews. I guess I can go into that first this time. So the reviews for this movie, Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 52% from critics with a 60% audience score. Metacritic, it had a 51% from critics. And on IMDb, it had a 6.6. So, yeah, more mixed, whereas we were mixed to positive. Mm-hmm. But kind of in the same range there. This is also a movie that does have a bit of a cult following, and there's a contingency of people that feel like this movie was undeservedly hated on. So I would slightly agree with that group. I think this movie was slightly shortchanged by critics and audiences upon initial release. I do think it deserves slightly better of a reception than it did at that time. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I think David asked for my score and I was in a bad mood.
So you guys who are more box office inclined and budget knowledgeable.
So basically not Irina.
Yeah. What do you think this movie costed or cost?
What did it costed you
For
guys?
those of you that are more box office inclined, what do you think it costed?
So let's talk about this. So you already kind
talk
of
about that.
said that it was very expensive, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than you would hope.
You already
Yeah.
kind of said it. So, like throughout the whole podcast, he's been mentioning this is way too expensive for what it's
The hint I will give you is that this movie is one of the most expensive movies ever made.
20 millions.
20 million.
155.
I bet it cost about 250 to 300 to make.
Okay, you have to give a
Give it a more
I said
specific-
250. You
be
can't
specific.
just say 250 to 300.
That's a 50 million range.
Yeah, and
Oh
I
my
said
God,
250.
you can't
so
just say
give me
that.
a number.
275 then. Like,
275,
What,
okay,
What do you want
275.
from me? It's in the middle.
All right.
264.
264. Arena? No? Money? 20 millions?
263.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, so the movie cost between 250 to 260 million. There's no exact budget reported.
They were
So,
too afraid.
Irina won.
No, I think you. Oh yeah, 260.
I said 250. No, it's a
What?
275. Wait, what did you say, AJ?
264.
I'm looking straight Wikipedia saying, although tax returns released in 2014 revealed its exact budget was 263.7 million.
What the hell?
Dang.
But of course, you just took
I
like
was just
someone
going
else's.
off of AJ.
The one time you decided to give a number.
So basically, AJ was the closest.
And this also, in addition to that, it had $100 million marketing campaign, which is standard for a Disney blockbuster.
So that wasn't included in the budget we just mentioned?
No, that was not included. So that's on top of the 263 million. So
Gosh.
363 million. Huge budget for this movie here.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. This could have been like the next Avatar, but they just didn't do it right.
Or Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
I mean,
Clearly was
yeah,
not, though.
I guess.
So the movie opened to, anyone want to take a gander at a guess?
Ooh,
Domestically?
180.
Are you saying opening weekend?
It's opening weekend.
I'm gonna
180.
bet that it made a low 15 million
Are you-
Wow, that's
okay,
very-
for
that's-
domestic.
I'm just going to say
domestic.
that's a very... Okay, Noah, do
Okay, David,
worldwide.
David, what you got?
Noah, do worldwide.
I always think domestic because that's like, I think
Shut
it
up,
got
you're
really
doing
low.
worldwide.
No,
It's 180.
worldwide would be a total. Worldwide openings are different.
180.
100
Total?
You think it made 180 first weekend?
Yeah, world, yes.
No, it absolutely did not do that well.
Wait, are
Well,
we...
I actually don't have that number, so we're not going to do that. Just give me a domestic opening. What have you got? Noah's 15 million. What are you?
Opening is first weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, worldwide, right?
In the U.S.
Wait,
In the U.S.
Okay.
He said domestic opening.
80.
80 million?
That's really high. That's higher than Disney animated movies.
Yeah.
Like,
Really?
yeah, some of them.
Okay, I'm just going to reveal it. It made 30 million opening weekend. So Noah, you were closer. David was astronomically high. This movie would have been successful if it had an 80 million opening weekend. I mean, it would have been a breakout hit, but
we
it would have
normally
been.
do opening weekend? Can we just say
We normally-
do opening
No,
weekend?
no, we don't. We don't.
We normally do worldwide total.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
confused this whole
But
time.
he said opening, and I asked.
Okay, what
If-
you're thinking
I was
is,
still stuck on that mentally.
So you're thinking overall domestic
What did
tally?
it make overall worldwide?
I bet
Worldwide, it hit
bet
284 million.
Dang.
Okay, 180. That's still fine. I'll take
I'll
that
take it.
negative score.
Okay, so 284 million versus its 263 million budget plus 100 million marketing. It's honestly, it's listed as one of the biggest bombs of all time.
sadly.
That
Yikes.
and Lone Ranger for Disney were huge, costly.
Honestly,
you know,
yet another kind of
projects.
underrated film that
Yeah.
they
It-
did,
Didn't
even
they
though
reel in Lone Ranger's budget because of this?
Yeah, they did. Lone Ranger still ended up having like a $250 million budget, though, so I don't know how it didn't really help Lone Ranger in the long run, but I guess they mitigated it slightly. Lone Ranger is an equally big bomb to this one, though.
I think the main thing about these and Disney that just rubs people the wrong way is that it does look like they're aiming for a cash grab and they're kind of sticking to a formula rather than trying to make a pride project. So I think it just rubs people the wrong way and they automatically have decided that they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And then they say like, "Oh, it's terrible," and then it spreads and everyone hates
But they
it.
still spent way more than most Disney movies do.
No, I know. Well,
I think it's just the placement of having this in.
about the same. It's just others had more of a chance of making more money.
Not about the same. Not at all, actually.
They make. Do you know how much
No
like
one
all the
literally-
Marvel
no.
movies cost to make?
He just said this is the most expensive the most expensive Disney movie.
Really? Ever?
Yeah,
No way.
I honestly think the only Marvel movie to surpass this one in terms of budget is Avengers Endgame.
Well, and Infinity War
500, right?
did 500 as well.
Yeah,
Each-
but it was a split budget where
Yeah.
I feel like more went towards Endgame.
that is surprisingly high. If that's the only one that surpasses this.
They said up until this movie, no other Disney
Yeah.
movie was higher.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Actually,
Did
no,
it?
I take that back. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End had a rumored budget upwards of 400 million,
Oh my
but I don't know
gosh.
if it's actually confirmed. But yeah, that
Didn't
movie
some big
cost.
shot at Disney Studios resigned because of this movie, John Carter?
Yes. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but yeah, because of this movie, he was forced. I mean, he was forced to resign.
Even though I
That's
think it started
sad.
production before he came into that position.
Yeah. Yep. This movie did not make a lot of people happy financially.
I think
So.
although it financially didn't make a lot of people happy, I think those that were involved should feel at least some pride having got this out on screen, because it is really kind of a risk for Disney to go this direction. I don't think there was anything quite like John Carter being made at the time, and they're kind of banking on the fact that some people might know what this is.
Yeah.
And while it is well known in science fiction circles, I don't know if they were aware that there would be a large audience looking towards this.
Yes.
I
And-
do think they might have had one inspiration sort of that made them want to kind of go this direction. I think that was Avatar. I think they saw Avatar as a CG huge budget thing where they could capture another world even if the story was somewhat cliche, and
Yeah.
it made tons of money. They probably thought maybe they could do that with this, and then it just bombed.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, also, that huge marketing budget, I think everybody got pumped up for this movie and was just sorely disappointed.
Yeah.
If it wasn't
Yeah.
played up so much, then it wouldn't have fallen so hard.
And I
Yeah.
think the marketing is actually one of the main reasons for this movie's failure. The bland title, John Carter,
Yeah.
didn't tie it to Edgar Rice Burroughs, who is a figure that many people are a fan of.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
he's
yeah.
an identifiable author that if
He's
you
a
had
titan in the literary world.
yes, if you had tied this movie to his name and called it John Carter of Mars,
Yeah.
they even the studio thought that if we had done this, we would have drawn more attention.
Yeah, they could have just done John Carter of Mars, a story by Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yeah,
and
they-
that would have got a lot of people interested.
They were scared of the story being too weird, like the title being too weird.
Oh yeah, they'll trick people into the seats, and then once
Yeah.
they're in the seats, they're all like, "This is really weird," but I'm here.
Yeah, let's get that weird content. But what we really need is a super simple title that really draw them into it. They'll
John
like it when
Carter.
they get there.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, this movie was intended to be the first of a trilogy. There were going to be 3 of these movies, and after the poor performance of this film, that was put into question. In other words, canceled. Yeah, so Andrew Stanton, his quote on the movie was, "I will always mourn the fact that I didn't get to make the other 2 films I planned for that series."
He probably had a good idea.
It's kind of
Yeah.
sad. I bet they could have done a good job, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could have. I bet the studio had a lot of hands in this and
Yeah.
wanted a lot of changes from what his actual vision may have been.
Yeah, it makes me sad because Andrew Stanton showed a lot of skill in
Yeah.
this, live-action directorial debut, and I feel like he was scared back into animation after this, and then he did like kind of a cash-in sequel with Finding Dory.
I
But-
do have a question. Do you think that perhaps some of that budget could have been towards scenes and such for sequels that just never were allowed to happen?
No, this is all the budget was towards this movie.
All right. Well.
Yeah,
Yep. Then yeah, that's kind of no excuse.
yeah.
But whatever.
You're right
All right.
about the title, though. Like, you don't make a Count of Monte Cristo movie and call it Edmond Dantes.
That's true.
Oh gosh,
if
no
you-
one would know.
That's a BBC title right there.
Edmond Dantes.
Channel 1.
Or Lord of the Rings, Frodo Baggins.
That would not sell well.
A Lord of the Rings story
A Lord of the Rings.
or a Middle Earth story,
Saga.
whatever.
By Bilbo Baggins.
I bet that would get more traction, actually, than John Carter.
or Harry Potter. Oh wait.
Never mind.
A Hermione Granger story.
Oh gosh, we're just roasting the Star Wars movies right now. By the
Hermione's
way,
Diaries.
but
All right, so that concludes our John Carter episode. It's a rough one for us, but so is the movie. We came out mixed to positive on the film. Honestly, I feel like it would have been nice to see 2 and 3 in this story.
I think so too.
I think
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
set it up decently, and I would have enjoyed seeing where they had to go with the movie. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get to continue the John Carter saga and get that trilogy.
Or at least have an actual ending to the first movie.
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, that closes out our episode. Next week we will be talking about Guy Ritchie's King Arthur.
Oh, snap.
Ooh, this one I'm ready.
Yeah,
Raised
and also
Londinium.
our podcast is now on Podbean, Spotify, and Apple. So
We're an apple.
if you like us, which
I will
is
never hear the apple.
maybe unlikely, but hey, if you do, go ahead and follow us. So yeah,
Hit that subscribe
Ring that
button.
bell.
David,
YouTube.
don't jinx.
We don't have a subscribe button.
Whatever it is. You
All
like
right.
us.
A
Good
follow.
just
It's what he
follow.
just said.
Good. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.